Welcome back to Left of Old North. I am your co-host CJ, and today we have with us the one, the only Chuck Hubbard. Now, Chuck Hubbard is running in NC Congressional District 5 against longtime incumbent Virginia Foxx and native Wilkes County. We are excited to have him on the show. Thank you for coming on and for running against Foxx herself.
Thank you guys for having me on. It means the world. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Now, I guess, for those who aren't necessarily super familiar with Congressional District 5 or with you yourself, just maybe a little intro.
All right. My name's Chuck Hubbard. I'm run for Congress against Virginia Foxx, obviously. And I'm a former newspaper publisher of the Wilkes Journal-Patriot in North Wilkesboro. It's my family's paper for, my grandfather founded that after the First World War, actually. He was a printer's devil and decided that, I can do this. And so he founded it, and that paper helped him to survive. It promoted my father and his brother, my uncle, and then I came in and with my family members. It was a wonderful endeavor. It's an example of the American dream coming true in a family's life. I know it's a tough race. I ran against her last November. We gave her the hardest race she has ever had. And I am determined to put her out of office in 2026. And we're doing the work to get it done. Now, the district that a lot of people may be familiar with was the one that included Forsyth County and Yadkin and a few counties like that. But in October of 2023, a gerrymander occurred. And I often say a funny thing happened on the way to the gerrymander. They removed Forsyth County and Yadkin and Avery Mitchell from my county, from my district, but they dropped in the entire city of Greensboro minus about 10% or something like that. So that really gave us, 150,000 more votes or something like that, and then they added in Rockingham County, which though that is, and I hate to mention his name here, Phil Berger's home county, but it also has large spots of blue in it. And then it runs west, through Wilkes into Watauga County, which itself is pretty blue with Appalachian there and so forth. And that's it. We got Stokes, Allegheny, Ash, and Caldwell, Alexander. It changed the nature of the district, is what it did. It went from a tough one to win to one that's very much winnable. Just if we do the work and get people to come out, we can't have Democrats sitting home this November like they did in last time around. Or November 2026, excuse me.
Yeah, 100% agreed. And again, thank you for going up against her. I mean, I know it's it's a tough race, but like you said, it's definitely a winnable one at this point. And I'm very excited to see what happens. But I guess one of my first things that I kind of wonder is, how do you even go up against someone like Virginia Foxx? Someone who has been in Congress as long as she has.
Going on her 12th term, right? This would be her 12th if she manages to pull one more out.
Yeah, she was elected in 2005 the first time and sworn in 2006. So, yeah, I mean, the truth is her record undoes her. Basically, she has done what she did in the North Carolina General Assembly, which is follow what leadership says, do exactly that, and then you rise, and that's kind of what she's done right there. I mean, some people fall down. She seems to fall up. She's now managed to make herself or leadership has made her the chair of the Rules Committee. This big, beautiful bill that they're considering in the Senate that came over from the House, she had to approve of every last bit of that. She didn't object to any of it. She hailed the passage of it. So I want to tell you something right now. We can make her own that. And we have to make her own her record. And her record rides right against the middle class, against the working class, and supports billionaires. So I mean that she has used her position in Congress to threaten vulnerable populations of our nation, not just North Carolina, not just my district, but the United States as a whole. Now, and it's my job to point that out to people and give them a choice. Do you like what you see? You guys might remember. Do you remember? I guess it was December of 23 when she was yelling "shut up" at people on the floor of Congress. Y'all remember?
Oh yeah.
Well, I think that was right after Mike Johnson, right after his election. It was disreputable, it was upsetting, and we received interest from all 50 states at that point, every last state. So that's the vision that we had to put forward. And that's it right there. I have to do the work. I started into the last race with name recognition in Wilkesboro and Wilkes County, and I ended up with name recognition in 10 counties, including all of Greensboro. And so, I mean, this is what we had. We had this to build upon, and that's what we're going to do.
And you had a pretty impressive gain from previous Democratic candidates that had run in that district. I think you gained, almost 5 points compared to the previous Democratic candidate. And during a year in which Trump increased his lead in North Carolina compared to his last race. So you feel pretty good about 2026, it seems.
I do. I don't think, that a lot of us saw a red wave coming. I don't think even most of the pundits. I mean, there might have been some trepidation right at the end, but I think overall nobody really saw it coming.
Right.
So, because at the end of the day, who in the world would think that Donald Trump would be elected twice, much less once? So I think that was a bit of reality that was hard to swallow, and that was a situation that was kind of a drag on our race. Two, I think when the top of the ticket loses, it's kind of a drag down the ticket. But I do feel confident. They've 6 months of Donald Trump has been 6 months of a continual drama show, nightmare, attack on law and order, attack on citizens, and his endless. I think Tim Miller doesn't call it. He doesn't call it tweeting. He calls it bleeding. So I think Donald Trump's endless bleeding, and, look at what happened to Tom Tillis this week, right? I will tell you something. Now, Tom Tillis, I probably wouldn't agree with a whole heck of a lot that he has to say in terms of policy. And I find it hard to believe that I'm saying what I'm getting ready to say. But I got to congratulate the man for standing up, and saying this budget is bad. This bill is terrible, and now, of course, Donald Trump threatened the primary, and he said, I'm not going to run. But that also gives him another, year or so, something like that, year and a half or so, to raise a little cane, maybe actually vote his conscience for a change. But that's, we have to drive these points home. This is damaging to you folks right down on the ground, and people are feeling pain, and they will feel more pain, unfortunately. Economically, these tariffs are terrible. We warned in the last election that this was a tax on everyday people, and people are going to find that out.
It really does seem like, and as you mentioned, Virginia Foxx was the chair of the Rules Committee. It really does seem like if that was the case in this 900 some odd page document, that she was really just kind of pencil whipping through those, if even that. And I guess the question would be, where do you see yourself? Say you win in November 2026. Say you win against Virginia Foxx. Where do you see yourself in the mix of trying to undo some of these things that the Trump administration has put forward and Virginia Foxx has helped facilitate?
Right. The first thing is, of course, is to win the House, and God willing, I think we will win the House. I think it's going to be significant, and then God willing, we win the Senate. There are a few vulnerable races, and including the one here in North Carolina.
It's definitely a big pickup opportunity.
Hillis was vulnerable anyway. So we'll see what happens. I think we'll win that seat, and I think that the Senate's in play. That's first to first right there, and we've got to put ourselves in a position where we can combat Donald Trump on a daily basis, and act as a bulwark against his worst instincts, and looking toward 2028 and getting a Democrat in the White House. This is what has to be done right here. And in terms of Virginia Foxx's behavior and the damage that's been done by Republicans, one thing that some of it may take a while to undo. If we're talking about a budget bill that destroys Medicaid, SNAP, attacks Medicare, and also with decisions that have been made through Doge, whatever in the actual hell that is, it was an absurdity. But to close down Social Security offices in all 50 states and to attack the Veterans Administration, these things are going to take a while to fix. But with Democrats in control of the House, and hopefully to God we get a veto-proof majority in the Senate, and then we undo the damage that's been done right there. Like I say, Virginia Foxx she's not an original thinker. She's not going to be out there being creative. She's just doing what she's told. I would be willing to bet you dollars to donuts she doesn't even know what all's in that bill.
Be willing to bet even more donuts, a baker's dozen, that none of them really actually read the bill. But
which is something I find crazy right there. That's crazy.
Marjorie Taylor Greene herself gave the game away when she didn't even realize that the 10-year AI moratorium was even in the bill.
What does it say about a bill when Marjorie Taylor Greene criticizes?
Doesn't matter. You already voted for it.
Exactly.
But picture this for a moment. Your voters, the ones you convinced to vote for you, are a lot of them, on Medicaid. A lot of them receive food assistance. How about tearing apart the Department of Public Instruction? Let's try that one on for size right there. Mm-hmm. What's the most important instrument toward moving the society ahead? It is public education. Mm-hmm. And if the government takes that away from its people, you have done irreparable harm. Those are things that we can fix. And I think the Department of Public Education is going to be fixed pretty quick.
Yeah. I think it says a lot about, I guess, kind of the content of her character that, Virginia Foxx herself is a former educator. She's been on the education committee and all that stuff. And yeah, exactly. Quotes. But she's fine with just dismantling the system. But, the thing is, public school, like you said, that's the keystone. That's the foundation of a society. That's how we progress. That's how we grow. That's how we get to the next step.
It's foundational. Yes.
Exactly.
And if it's not foundational, show me a society in the world that gets ahead without good public education.
No. You can't. there isn't one.
Europe has strong public education throughout, pretty much, and they've moved ahead. And I feel like we're lagging. I feel like we have been lagging. These attacks on the right on schools is, of course, look at North Carolina alone, these school vouchers, that take billions away from public schools. What if that money what if the voucher program was ended and that money went toward kids, toward improving facilities, toward improving curriculums? What if that, and look at that done in all red states. What if those changes were made?
Well, they wouldn't be red states for long. You have a challenging district, to say the least, not just because it's held by an incumbent, but also because a lot of those counties, as you previously mentioned, are pretty red. I think a lot of the anxiety around some Democrats, some more left-leaning Democrats included, or people that wouldn't otherwise vote in a primary in an off-year election, might be concerned that someone who runs in these districts would play more of the bipartisanship card. And I'm kind of curious as to how you think of that. And as an addendum to that, is that something that is necessary for a Democrat to do to run in a place like your district?
Well, certainly you're going to have to have a broad appeal, right? And your opponent's record is going to have to reflect certain behaviors, right? Mm-hmm. The opponent's record part of it, I've got covered because behavior is what it is, and her votes have been what they are. As far, I'll say this: in our district, as with the entire state of North Carolina, I think it's about 1/3 are unaffiliated voters, and X amount of those are going to be people who became disenchanted with the Republican Party, maybe have a even more of a libertarian bent, and X amount of those are going to be people who became disenchanted with our party, or maybe young people who have become disenchanted with party politics in general, right? So at the end of the day, when I go out and talk to people, it's very, very clear that we all have certain goals in mind for our lives. We got to pay the bills, put food on the table, make sure that the children are taken care of, make sure, is it too outrageous for families to expect to have a vacation once a year? These are all things we can talk about here. We can talk about, did you like your high school? Are you still a fan of your high school? What if that goes away? I mean, these are all things that are communicable right here with people. And so I think that where Republicans have always gotten us is this fear of the other bit. They want to come out and stomp up and down. Virginia Foxx has been good at this, calling people socialists. Oh, they're different. They're socialist, or they're a bunch of communists. When in truth, there is no truth to that. She did the same thing with me. You're talking about the publisher of a newspaper in Wilkes County, and she was calling me a left-leaning socialist. And my wife's a retired state trooper. It just was a joke.
I'm sure there'd be a lot of people who in certain areas that would be very happy if that were the case. But like you said, it's not based in truth.
Right. And they come along and say, these gay people are threatening the fabric of your family. These transgender people are threatening to pollute your schools. These people who don't worship God in the same way that you do are a threat to your way of life. Now, they use that. They beat that drum. None of that's true. None of it's true. But they beat that drum. And so, and are able to sow those types of seeds of division. It's my job, I believe in that sense, to be a healer, to try and heal this divide as best I can. And I've had a lot of good conversations with people of every stripe who they don't always know what they want, but they know they don't want the way things are. So I'm offering them a different direction.
Nice. Yeah, I think they really kind of just go after that, fear of the other, as you mentioned, because they, as we've said before on this podcast several times, they know their policies are awful. They know their policies are unpopular. They know that if people were able to focus on what they are, they would lose so many votes. If people realize what's in this, big, beautiful bill,
right,
instead of worrying that, some random person is coming to take their job whenever that's not the case, they knew what was in the bill and weren't distracted by that. Yeah, that's so many fewer votes for Republicans.
Well, picture this, for a moment, what they had to convince people of. We're talking about people who are supporting billionaires, right? People who don't need a tax break, people who are the richest of the rich, the top let's say the top 5%, right? But a lot of these are directed at the top 1%, but the top 5%, let's say, what do you have to do to get people down on the ground, middle class and working class people, to support that nonsense right there? What you have to do is distract them with this other stuff, this emotional stuff about and threats about their way of life that are not true. Mm-hmm. And look at what happens with immigration going forward. This is a travesty what's going on right now, dragging people off the streets and sending them to El Salvador to prisons without due process. And if people think that that's going to stop there, they're mistaken. What every single American wants a strong border that people can't cross willy-nilly. Same thing with Europe. They want strong borders that people can't cross willy-nilly and so forth. Same thing with any country. But it has to be done in a humane way. It has to be done constitutionally and through law, and not in this lawless, inhumane fashion that's going on, right? And that's obviously I'm passionate about that right there. But you can distract people with lies so that you can provide cover for billionaires, and I think that's what's going on a lot of times.
When you get to Congress and you're looking at getting some committee assignments, would being on a committee that's assigned to immigration be something that is of interest to you?
Absolutely. And I, President Biden, offered obviously the strongest immigration bill in the history of the United States.
Right.
And Donald said what? He said, told Republicans, squash that because I want to campaign on it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, obviously we want strong borders, but we also want people to be treated fairly. We want the rule of law involved in this and not lawless behavior, not ICE agents walking around with their faces covered, yanking people off the street without showing badges, it is not what we expect in the United States of America.
No.
So, I would love to be on that committee.
Any others that pique your interest? Maybe fighting with Marjorie Taylor Greene on the oversight committee, something like that.
I don't relish fighting with anybody, but I'll be on the hide. The oversight committee would be fine. My biggest focus right now is not on what I'll be doing, which committee I'll be sitting on. It's on winning this race. That's the thing in front of me right now. And, that the rest of this, we'll get to it. I'm willing to work anywhere, anytime, do anything that we need to do to advance our country. And that's what any committee I'm on, I'll show up for work. We'll do the job. I believe in hard work. I've done that all my life, and we'll do what's right for people without regard to their social status or their bank accounts.
Sure. And to that end, what is your strategy going forward and continuing to campaign? Other than appearing on this podcast, which I'm sure.
Well, this podcast will win the election for me. So
I hope so. I expect a very big check if that's the case.
Then I'll go to a very big prison. So that won't be happening. But we have to show the energy that we showed last time. I've got to be active in all 10 counties. This coming Friday, for example, I'm walking with others in the July 4th parade over in Watauga County. Then on Saturday, my wife Sherry and I will be going with Anderson Clayton and others to Ashe County, to downtown Ashe County in West Jefferson, and we'll be there for Christmas in July. I've already done a ton of events in Greensboro. We'll continue doing that. One of the things that we are doing is we're doing town halls in every single county. Now, Virginia Foxx, as y'all know, came out and said that she's not doing town halls because that's just a place where people yell at their member of Congress.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart.
Yeah, if you do your job and don't offend people and don't act actively against their best interests, then people probably don't yell at you as much, maybe. But we've already done town halls in Greensboro and Watauga County and in Mount Airy over in Surrey County. We got them set to go in Caldwell County and I want to say Stokes. I'm not positive, but we're getting this going, and we're going to do them. And I want to talk to people. I want to hear what they have to say. It's important, and I try and listen. I enjoy the back and forth. I don't know what Virginia Foxx hates about that. I enjoy talking with people, even people who are like hard right, we can find common ground. And that's, I'm actually pretty good at that. We'll sit down and talk about what's really important. We've got to have that energy right there. And of course, the financial aspect of it is huge. We're raising money as hard as we can. She's got about $5 million in the bank the last time I looked, and we're looking to raise about $2 million. I hate the amount of money that's in politics. I hate it. It makes me sick to my stomach that Elon Musk was allowed to put $250 million in a presidential election. I think that swayed it. I think that added points to Donald Trump. I think Citizens United was an absolutely wrong-headed decision. The Supreme Court was wrong, but we have to live with it. And the end result is that races all the way from the presidential races all the way down to Congress and state races, it's been affected. And so we got to raise the money. We're looking to raise about $2 million.
I mean, when Elon Musk puts his hat in the ring for a state Supreme Court race in where was it? Wisconsin, I'm pretty sure.
Wisconsin. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good thing that they didn't win up there, because that would have set a precedent for.
His hat got stomped on in that ring too. I noticed.
Sure did. People saw him wearing that cheese head and they were like, nope. Absolutely not.
That's right. And I think about Allison Riggs and her race here.
Mm-hmm.
The threat is not just in the federal courts. It's of course with the right trying to control courts in all states. State courts. Allison's a friend of mine, and she did a wonderful job. And Jefferson Griffith, I think his name is, ought to be ashamed of himself. He should be ashamed. Anyway.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I will say, just backing up half a second to the whole town hall thing, you said Virginia Foxx's thing was, that's just, I'm going to get yelled at or whatever. I think what that shows, her saying that, is a fundamental disrespect for her constituents, for the citizens of the 5th District. It shows that, just to be blunt, she does not give a shit about what they have to say.
That is correct.
It's all about herself, and that's it. Herself and her donors.
Right. And you'll notice that she's only going to places in the district where there are people of like mind, people who will vote for her no matter what. That's not where I'm at right there. I mean, we got to talk to everybody, and everybody counts. Every vote counts, which is another concern in the United States. We don't know what more interference there will be in elections in 2026. But regardless, my job is to represent everybody, not just people who give me money, not just people who, who sing out of the same hymnal as I do. People with radically different viewpoints, sometimes they say some pretty cool stuff, and they change my mind. There's an old friend of mine, the late Earl Edwards. He was probably the best football coach North Wilkes High School ever had. And Earl was a dear friend of mine. He says, he used to always say, I reserve the right to change my mind tomorrow. Be willing to listen to others. And I think that's important. And I'm not sure if Virginia Foxx ever was willing to listen to somebody else. She's an old politician. She knows how to turn the right levers, and And let me tell you, fellas, her time is done in politics. If I have to say about it.
Love to hear it. Now, just one final question. Before we wrap it up here, and it's one we try to ask of most, if not all, of our guests. What is your go-to?
What?
Your go-to cookout order from the restaurant? Yeah.
If I'm having a cookout, oh man, let's throw some. Well, for an entree, I can go with steaks. Let me tell you, medium rare. But I'm also happy with dogs and hamburgers. You know, as long as we got some chili and onions to go on that. You know, how about some of Mama's good old potato salad? You know, and my wife makes some mean potato salad, make you dance for it. You know, and I'll down some great banana pudding either. You know, and if you guys ate my green beans, you will never eat any others. You'll be asking me for the recipe.
Good to know. Well, if you happen to have a cookout, a campaign cookout or anything like that, I will gladly make the trip from Wake County.
I would love to have y'all. You know, we'd love to have y'all up here in the foothills. This is an election in 2026 that genuinely, and this is no hyperbole. This is just the fact of it. It's about the soul of our nation. Mm-hmm. Which direction are we going? You know, if we don't take back the House and we, can't contest the Senate, then we're in deep, deep trouble. That the House and the Senate are not doing their job. Republicans are just conceding their power and their authority to Donald Trump, and I'll be damned if I'll do that.
Well, Mr. Chuck Hubbard, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming and talking to us and letting us know that there is actually somebody out there fighting against somebody like Virginia Foxx. If anybody out there wants to donate, wants to get on the ground and volunteer, this is a candidate that really needs the help, and we would love to see win this November 2026. Thanks, Chuck, again for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, guys. Been fun, you know. Let's do it. Let's get out every day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.